In 1998, Toni Braxton walked into a courtroom and handed over her Grammy Awards, not to display them, not to donate them, to pay her debts. She had won those awards for Unbreak My Heart, one of the best-selling singles in history. Her first two albums had generated over $170 million in worldwide sales. She had sold out arenas across the globe, and her royalty check from all of that success was $1,972. This is the story of how the music industry systematically took everything Toni Braxton earned, and how she lost everything not once, but twice. Toni Braxton was born in 1967 in Severn, Maryland. She grew up in a strict household. Her father was a minister, her mother a beautician. Music was her escape. She sang in church, then with her sisters in a group called the Braxtons. In 1991, music producers L.A. Reid and Babyface noticed her and signed her to Layface Records as a solo artist. 2 years later, in 1993, her debut album was released. It reached #1 on the Billboard 200. It sold 10 million copies worldwide. It won her 3 Grammy Awards, including Best New Artist. By 1996, she was the biggest R&B artist on the planet. Her second album, Secrets, sold 15 million copies. Unbreak My Heart became the signature ballad of an entire generation. She won more Grammys, more American Music Awards, more everything. On paper, Toni Braxton was one of the most successful recording artists alive. Behind the scenes, she was going broke. Here is what most people do not understand about the music industry. When a record label signs an artist, they advance money for recording, videos, styling, travel, and promotion. But that advance is not a gift. It is a loan, deducted from the artist's future royalties before they see a single dollar. Toni's contract with LaFace Records paid her 33 cents per album sold, 33 cents, on a $15 album. In a deal that required her to pay back every expense the label had ever spent on her before she received anything, her music generated $170 million for the label. She received less than $2,000. When she finally received that royalty check for $1,972, she did not accept it quietly. She sued LaFace Records and Arista to be released from her contract. A few weeks later, unable to pay her bills while the legal battle dragged on, she filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The debt listed in the filing, $50 million. The reaction from the public was brutal. Fans could not understand how someone who had sold millions of records could be broke. They assumed it was her fault, that she had spent recklessly. Oprah Winfrey invited her onto her show and interrogated her about her spending habits on national television. Toni sat there and tried to explain a system that most people had never heard of and could barely believe. She was placed under a gag order as part of her eventual settlement with the label, prohibited from speaking publicly about the details of her contract for 10 years. In the meantime, the bankruptcy court began liquidating her assets, her clothes, her jewelry, her baby grand piano, her cars, and then her Grammy Awards, the trophies she had worked her entire life to earn. Auctioned off one by one to pay creditors, she was left with almost nothing, and a 10-year silence imposed by the very label that had taken everything from her. But Toni Braxton did not disappear. She joined the Broadway cast of Disney's Beauty and the Beast for a steady income. She recorded new music. She rebuilt slowly and deliberately. By 2000, her third album, The Heat, proved she was still one of the best voices in the world. She reclaimed her standing in the industry. She even managed to buy back some of her auction possessions, including her Grammy Awards. Then in 2006, she made a decision that changed everything again. She announced a Las Vegas residency at the Flamingo Hotel, 6 nights a week, self-financed through her own company. The show was called Toni Braxton Revealed. It was a massive success. The run was extended all the way through 2010, and then in April 2007, she collapsed on stage during a live performance. She was rushed to hospital. For 3 years, she kept the details private. In 2010, she revealed the truth. She had been diagnosed with lupus, a serious autoimmune disease, and she was suffering from microvascular angina, a severe heart condition that made performing physically dangerous. She had to cancel all remaining dates on the Las Vegas residency, but here is the financial devastation that followed. She had self-financed the entire show through her own company. The vendors, the staff, the production, all contracted and paid by her. When she canceled, every broken contract became her personal financial liability. She owed the IRS 3 years of unpaid taxes. She owed her record labels $16 million in royalty advances. She owed Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. She owed Neiman Marcus. She owed creditors across the board. Her Nevada home, worth $2.6 million, went into foreclosure. In 2010, Toni Braxton filed for bankruptcy for the second time. Total debt listed, $18.3 million. Total assets, $1.6 million. And this time, she lost the rights to 27 of her biggest songs, including You're Making Me High, Always and How Many Ways, songs she had written, songs she had poured herself into, gone, sold at auction to the highest bidder for $20,000. She tried to buy them back herself. She was outbid. But once again, Toni Braxton did not stay down. She settled her bankruptcy in 2013. She reconnected with Babyface and recorded Love, Marriage, and Divorce, which won the Grammy Award for Best R&B Album in 2015. She launched the reality show Braxton Family Values, which ran for 9 years. She rebuilt a net worth estimated today between $8 and $10 million. And in 2017, when her 10-year gag order finally expired, she spoke publicly for the first time about what LaFace Records had really done to her. She said, "I sold more than 40 million records. My royalties were less than $2,000. This issue went all the way to Congress. All contracts are null and void in bankruptcy, except for a recording artist. Can you believe that?" So what are the 3 financial lessons inside Toni Braxton's story? Lesson 1. Always understand the contract before you sign it. Toni Braxton was a young artist who trusted the people around her to look after her interests. She did not fully understand what 33 cents per album meant over millions of sales. Before you sign anything, whether it is a job offer, a business deal, or a financial agreement, read every line, get independent legal advice, never assume the people on the other side of the table are protecting you. Lesson 2. Self-financing a business carries personal risk. When Toni financed her Las Vegas show through her own company, she took on full personal liability for every contract. When illness forced her to cancel, there was no buffer between the business debt and her personal finances. Always separate your personal finances from your business finances, and never personally guarantee debts you cannot cover if things go wrong. Lesson 3. Owning your work is everything. Toni Braxton lost the rights to 27 of her own songs, music she wrote, performances she gave, sold at auction for $20,000. In any creative or entrepreneurial field, own your intellectual property, copyright your work, keep control of what you create, because the moment you lose it, someone else profits from your talent for the rest of their life. Toni Braxton's story is not just about money. It is about a system that was designed to extract maximum value from artists while paying them as little as legally possible. And it is about a woman who survived that system twice and came out the other side with her voice, her dignity, and her Grammy Awards back on the shelf where they belong. My question for you is this. If you discovered that the company you worked for had made millions from your efforts and paid you almost nothing, what would you do? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear from you. And if this story made you angry on Toni Braxton's behalf, share it with one person today. Someone needs to hear this. I will see you in the next one.